And this pattern of sin, punishment, repentance, and deliverance through leaders is the recurring pattern throughout the book, and it punctuates the transition from each of these leaders that God will raise up, right? So it's this recurring pattern. And this Deuteronomistic perspective, as well as Deuteronomistic ideology generally, isn't always apparent within the individual stories themselves, as I've stressed. Some of them seem to be pre-Deuteronomistic folk tales about the exploits of these local heroes. They were popular stories. So Gideon, we'll see, builds an altar, despite the fact that we know Deuteronomy insisted on centralized worship and prohibited outlying altars or multiple altars. He is also known, his other name, if you will, is Jerubbaal, right? It's a name that's made with Baal, meaning Baal will strive or Baal will contend. So this is an alternate name for Gideon. He erects an idol. The people of Shechem, where he is, after his death, they continue to worship Baal Berit, the Baal of the covenant, which is an interesting sort of merger of Baalism and covenantal religion. Right? So you have a lot of these elements that presumably the Deuteronomist would disapprove. The story of Samson also appears to be largely pre-Deuteronomistic. It was, again, probably a very popular, entertaining folk tale about a legendary strongman. He can lift up the gates of the city, he can tie the tails of 300 foxes with torches and so on. But this great strongman is undone by his one weakness, which is a weakness for foreign women, particularly Philistine women. At least we think Delilah was Philistine. And that proves to be his downfall. So you can see in a way how these stories were fodder for the Deuteronomistic editor. The Deuteronomistic editor insists that foreign gods, often accessed through marriage to foreign women, exercised a fatal attraction for Israel. And it was the inability to resist the snare of idolatry that would ultimately lead to ruin. We have to remember that the final editing of this narrative history is happening in exile, right? It's happening from people for whom all of this is ultimately leading towards a tragedy, all right? So the leaders who are raised by God are called judges. That's a term that's used in other Semitic texts to refer to leaders in the second millennium, sometimes human and sometimes divine. So the term is used here in the biblical text. It refers always to a human leader and one who exercises many different powers or functions, not merely judicial. We think of the word judge really in a judicial context, but that wasn't the extent of the function of the judge. The Israelite judge was actually primarily a military leader, commissioned with a specific task and only in times of national crisis. The judge had a charismatic quality, which in several cases is expressed by the phrase, "The Spirit of the Lord came upon him." God would raise up the judge to deliver the people from a specific crisis. The judge might muster troops from 2 tribes or 3 tribes, sometimes only a clan or 2, which suggests that there was no real national entity at this particular time. We never see more than 1 or 2 tribes acting together or some clans of a tribe. But the institution of judges never created fixed political forms. And each judge differed from the last in background, in class, and even gender. We do have one female judge, Deborah, who did exercise judicial functions, evidently, according to the text. The judges aren't chosen necessarily for their virtue. Many of them seem to fall into the literary type of the trickster, a bit like Jacob. Some of them are the crafty, tricky types. Gideon is explicitly chosen for his weakness and not because of his strength. Turns out that he's quite a ruthless fighter, and he's clearly not a devout Yahwist. Jephthah is an outlaw. Samson is hardly a moral exemplar. So these are not meant to be idealized heroes, but popular heroes.